Hey there, happy Friday. It's Sam with another quick video for writers. Um, Today I'm asking you, what are you reading these days and what can you learn from it that you might apply to your writing? They say a good writer must also be a good reader. I mean, many of us became writers because we, love stories, love fiction, that kind of thing. Um, a lot of you probably have stacks of unread books in your home. I know I do, and I am working through them. The problem is I keep buying more, so the stacks will never end. Um, so right now I'm reading about trying to read about one fiction book and one nonfiction book a month. I know a lot of you read way more than that, and good on you. I wish I still could, with a full-time job and a baby and other hobbies and trying to do my own writing and such. That's about all I can do right now. But I'm trying to do one fiction book a month and one nonfiction. But here I'm primarily talking about fiction. So um, I might do this monthly book review is just or really quick ones just to kind of draw application from what I'm reading, but also hopefully to just talk about literature and fiction and things that are of interest to us. So today I'm asking you, what are you reading these days? What, if anything, can you get from it as a writer? Can you apply to your own writing? And I will give you my answer today in just a moment. So a lot of you know I'm a big fan of The Great Gatsby, as you can probably see. Um, I've let's see, I read it in high school and thought, it was good, but I don't think I fully appreciated the depths of it. Then I fell in love with it really when I did my student teaching, and I read it again to teach it, and of course was my understanding was deeper then, and I resonated with a lot of the themes. That was 8 years ago. Wow, I'm old. It's also the year that the recent movie version came out, 2013. Can't believe that my fifth year of college was 8 years ago. But I guess part of the American dream and the disillusion of the 20s, of the roaring 20s, is like looking back on your life and realizing, wow, I'm past whatever stage I used to be at. I don't know. Um, Big fan of that one. I've been trying to read some other Fitzgerald's other works too. Well, actually, um, I also I also wrote about Gatsby for my master's thesis a couple years later in like 2015. At least a good portion of it was on Gatsby, and I have here this collection by F. Scott Fitzgerald of two novels and 19 short stories of his, not Gatsby. That's the one everyone knows. It has other ones. Um, I think I bought this when I was in grad school, like again, like 6, 7 years ago, um, because I was, sometimes when you're writing your thesis, it's good to have a sampling of work and see what themes, similar themes, are in the author's other work. And I didn't read most of it back then. I didn't cite this in my thesis, obviously, but I have this huge, thick collection of Fitzgerald here, and I figured now that it's the 20s again, I'm kind of gonna get back into it and try to read this whole collection before 2030, which I think is a reasonable goal. So Gatsby was his third novel. He wrote 5 novels in his lifetime. It's a short lifetime if you know much about him. Um, this book contains his first two before Gatsby. There's This Side of Paradise, which I actually did read in grad school some years ago. That was the only part of this that I read before. And then in the middle here somewhere is The Beautiful and Damned. I keep wanting to say The Beautiful and the Damned. I think people call it that, but it's actually just The Beautiful and Damned. His second novel, which I'm reading now. So I'm actually near the end of it. It's divided into 3 sections, and I'm like halfway through the third section. Um, so hope to finish it up this weekend. But let me tell you really quickly what I like about it and what possibly we can learn from it, or how maybe it could have been improved by today's standards. I will say I've now read 4 of Fitzgerald's 5 novels, or I will have when I finish this one. I haven't read his last one, which is called The Last Haiku. I'll get there eventually. When I finish this one, I'll read his other 4. And Beautiful and the Damned, I'd say, is my second favorite so far, after Gatsby, obviously. And I will tell you why in just a moment. Okay, so let me. I'm kind of going to compare it to the other works I've read by him, because that's just kind of the comparison invites itself. So, The Great Gatsby, in addition to being an American classic and having a lot of universal themes about longing and the American dream and not quite achieving what you're longing for, in addition to all that, I think one of the reasons that it's become his great story, or I guess, no pun intended, one of the reasons it's become his masterpiece and like the masterpiece of American literature was its focused plot, its conciseness, concise cast of characters, concise plot. The whole book, still talking about Gatsby here, the whole book is less than 200 pages. It's only 9 chapters. Um, every episode in there is to serve the plot or reveal the characters in some way. I know it may not feel like that in those first couple of chapters when you don't know what's going on and you're like holidays. It's just people going to parties, but it is building up to something. And there's a definite climactic point that it comes to. Toward the end. I mean, most of you probably know what happens if you've read it before or seen the movie. If you don't, I guess I won't spoil it here. But definite climactic point that happens around chapters 7 and 8 of the 9 chapters. So it's a very focused arc with a relatively small cast of characters. I mean, there's a lot of minor characters who show up here and there, but the main characters are only, I don't know, I'd say 3 to 5 people who are like super important to the story. So anyway, yeah. So that one is focused. So when I read The Set of Paradise some years ago, and I mean it's been a few years, so I'm going to only talk about it in vague terms because I don't remember everything about it. And that was his first novel, and I thought it had a lot of the same themes, or at least some of the same themes, like a young man in this time period, the Roaring Twenties, kind of searching for meaning in his life and fulfilling whatever his longings are. Similar ideals and ideas there, much less of a concise, focused plot. I'd say the plot was not concise or focused. It was more like life episodes, and I'm only speaking vaguely because it's been a few years, but it was like it was things like here, Amory, his name was Amory, like here's what he did when he was like in his 20s, and here he went to college. I think the book ended around his college graduation. I can't remember, or maybe that was in the latter half somewhere. And then like here's what he did in the winter, and here's what he did in the spring, and it felt less like a narrative that's built into a climax and more like maybe more like a biography of a fictional character. So similar themes, similar ideas, somewhat, but much less of a concise narrative, more of a series of episodes. Beautiful and Damned so far is also like that. It's also more, if I had to classify it, it's less of a concise, focused plot like Gatsby. It's more of a series of episodes that might seem unrelated, might even seem mundane at first. But there's a lot in there. I'll tell you about that in a minute. It's about a young couple, mostly. I think the male is the protagonist again. His name is Anthony, and his wife is Gloria. They let's see. They fall in love young, in love. However you want to use that term. He thinks she's the golden girl or whatever that means. Who he just longs for, and he has to have her specifically. And she's part of this ideal life he hopes to achieve, and they get married young, largely out of infatuation probably, and then once they get married, they find it's not really this ideal paradise they had pictured. Surprisingly, they're not entirely unhappy. They do have strong affection toward each other, as you do once you're that much in someone's life, to the point of marriage. But they find even as soon as their honeymoon, they're fighting about stupid things like laundry or money or food or where they're going to live, or where they're going to eat, or what either of them will do for a job. That they fight about those things a lot. They argue about those things. It's not like an ideal paradise of the golden age. Every moment of marriage. And if you're married, you probably understand that. I understand that. Myself being a young married man, almost 3 years next month. I can, I appreciated a lot of that. There's a lot of realism there. So I do think one of the things that this book does well, I'd say its biggest strength so far, is the realism of just how it captures, I guess, marriage, yes, also just life, and I guess, I don't know, people striving for things, and how it captures those things and shows somewhat the imperfections in them. It still has the themes of like, I wish my life was like this. I want to achieve great things, and he's not quite achieving it the way he wants to, and things like that. A universal theme of life isn't perfect. We strive for things, and we'll never achieve them perfectly. That's kind of even the thing you desired, that you thought was going to make you happy doesn't make you happy. It's kind of an important theme to talk about. I thought the disparate episodes here kind of they did well to show that theme. I mean, again, in what otherwise might be considered mundane topics, like again, fighting over laundry or over food or things like that. Um, in those kind of scenarios and situations, Fitzgerald brings out a lot of realism in just the silly things couples fight over and the ways that marriage, even the best of marriages, can bring in frustration and quirks and conflicts that we didn't think about before. We didn't really envision our marriages being like this. So there's a lot of realism, a lot of human emotion, a lot of realistic and poignant and powerful imperfection in those scenes. And if I could take away one thing from this book and apply it to my writing, I would try to emulate or replicate some of that, the human emotion, the I don't know, he just I can't tell one example off the top of my head. I wish I would, maybe if I had more time I'd go digging for one, but he like brings some insightful commentary on these scenes, like again, scenes that otherwise would seem mundane, about things like, well, Anthony couldn't do this again without risking a verbal battle with Gloria, and it's just they're fighting about laundry, but there's more to it than that. There's you see the depth of their conflict and the depth of their struggles with each other, and there's a lot in there that I think shows the human condition, if I can use an English major term, shows the human condition well. And if I had to criticize one thing or say one thing that could be improved, I would cite what seemed like disparate episodes, or again, the fact that it's not really a narrative arc in the sense we think of one today, but it seems more like episodes of life. I'm like 40 pages from the end. I've got a couple of chapters left or whatever. And like they're introducing new characters, and the hero is about to embark on like a new business work venture, and I'm like, great, but like, are we building to some sort of climax? And I'm not sure if it will yet. I'm not sure if it's gonna do things in those same ways that we're used to today. So like, in some ways it's a criticism, because we're used to stories these days being a little more climactic. In some ways I feel like it almost works for this story, maybe more than I felt that for This Side of Paradise, just because it's like just because it is so so mundane. I use that not in a bad way, but just he's bringing a lot of depth out of mundane episodes, episodes that were otherwise mundane, and so like I feel like the day-to-day episodes don't really diminish that theme. They almost help it in some ways. So like it almost works for this. The story episodes almost work for this story. It's still not everyone's cup of tea, and it's not like a fast-paced action novel by any means. If it was published today, I don't know if it would sell super well. Actually, I don't know if it sold super well back in Fitzgerald's day. Like many authors, he didn't achieve quite all the financial success he wanted to in his lifetime. Anyway, that's my quick review. I haven't quite gotten to the ending, so if that changes in the ending, and there's any big part of the story I missed, sorry. That's just my general impression of it from having worked through it for the past couple of weeks. Hope to end on it. Hope to finish it up this weekend. So yeah, it's a good novel. And if you're interested in this kind of thing, if you like Gatsby and you want to check it out, I'd recommend this one. So far, I like it better than This Side of Paradise or than Tender as the Night, which I've also read. There's just a lot in there that resonated with me, big and small. I guess small episodes that reveal big themes. Okay. Really quickly, in 1 minute or so, I wanted to give a plug for what's happening next week, next Friday, May 28th, this same time. I'm doing an interview with author John Jackson Miller. If you're not familiar with John Jackson Miller, he's written a lot of Star Wars novels. Some of these Star Wars novels I read. He's written some Star Trek novels. He's written comics for Marvel and Star Wars. The point is, even if you're not a fan of those franchises or you haven't read a Star Wars novel ever in your life or anything like that, John Jackson Miller is someone who is making a successful career out of writing fun fiction for some big franchises. I'm curious to ask him how he broke into that, and I'll plan to ask him that next week in my live interview, because it's a lot of us have goals like that. Even if it's not for Star Wars per se, a lot of us are trying to do what he's doing, make a successful career out of writing fun fiction. So be here for that. There's an event page on my wall. Samuel N. Harris. If you scroll down, you'll see the cover of this book, Kenobi, and the event page for the interview with John Jackson Miller. That's next week, in 1 week, May 28th, this same time, 11 a.m. Central, or probably a little earlier than that. Yeah, it's 11:30 now. 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. or 12 noon Eastern. Be there. It'll be a good time. If you want more author videos like this, more updates, more author interviews, things like that, sign up for my mailing list. There's a link here in the video, also a link on my author page, pinned to the top. The link has the words Chipper Maker in it with some numbers. Sign up there. You'll get updates about things to come and more author interviews, more book reviews, more content for writers. That's all coming. But be here in 1 week for John Jackson Miller. It's going to be a good time. And in the meantime, keep reading and writing. Have a great Friday and a great weekend. Thanks.